This is New England's all-request weekend.
WRKO, Boston.
WBCN Boston, 25 after 7. So now that... Warehouse sale in Boston, Everett, Peabody.
Here, there's a big deficit at City Hall. We'll tell you about it. President Reagan speaks forth. We all listen, and not only that...
Rock and roll from the John Butcher Axis and special guests, the Detours. Admissions only $2.
And the Detours will also be joining us that night. Anyone 18 or older is invited. Doors will open at 6 p.m. That's Wednesday, September 30th at the Channel, 25 Necco Street in Boston. The WLYN Rock and Roll Party number 3 with Boys Live, Blue Miami and the Cosmetics, Native Tongue, and the Detours.
It was the 80s. The early 80s. Things may be a little sketchy, so I'm curious to hear Joseph's take on this. But you know, we needed a good Yardbirdy, Beatle harmony, kind of pettyish kind of feel, you know, because that's what we were into.
Stuck in My Car actually was the first song that I really thought was any good that I actually wrote. And we were literally stuck in Joe's car in traffic thinking we got to write a song. Oh, let's write a song about getting stuck in your car. And you really want to get to this girl. So it's very adolescent love stuff, but that's how it came about. I think he's sadly mistaken. It had nothing to do with cars or automobiles. Every day of my life goes by me like picture show on a Saturday afternoon. You know, maybe in its embryonic stage lyrically, I might have been driving around and smarting over being dumped. Honestly, it was a long time ago.
First, what I'd like to do is get the name of the individual names of this group, the Detours, if you can start.
Sure. Richie Stem from Winchester. Joseph Fusco from Lexington. Ken Mello from Winchester. And Matt Horowitz from Lexington.
So I met Joseph in 2nd grade.
My earliest recollection was this kid walks into the class. He's dressed in these pinstripe tight pants with a button-down, red button-down shirt, Beatle fringe. He's got like Buddy Holly horn-rimmed glasses on. And then as soon as he opened his mouth and he had a British accent, it was a done deal for me.
We just hit it off. We became instant friends. We were inseparable.
Nothing has changed at all, Matt. It's unbelievable. The house is exactly the same from like 20
Even the deck is there.
It's incredible. We basically would set up in his older brother Mark's bedroom when Mark would leave, of course. And Mark had a Stratocaster there. And we'd put records on and we would mime to the records.
So when I started learning the guitar, it's when Joseph, when we started to really think, hey, let's put a band together. And by 8th grade, we had a band.
Thank you, good night, the Detours.
To me, he was Mick Jagger. He looked like Mick. He had moves like Jagger. He was the lead singer who all the girls, would swoon around. When I ask you to be mine, somehow the words are hard to find.
Oh man, we worked it. I just batted my eyelashes and Matt did the talking. He was like nobody I had ever seen before. He's incredibly compelling and personality-wise, he's just a presence. I guess whatever it is, he has it. What Matt gave me was a lot of confidence. He always believed in me as a writer, as a singer. There was a need in me to be able to have some sort of creative outlet, and it wasn't just enough to sing other people's songs and interpret other people's lyrics.
Tim Costa brought stability, some street cred, because he was on records before.
Tim was 10 years older than us. He was as old as Matt's brother, and he had a beard. He was very Ringo-esque, which I always liked. I always liked less is more. I always liked the concept of less is more.
And he was a great guy, and he was a great drummer, and he was willing to work. The John Takis, he didn't have any equipment, so we ended up getting him equipment.
John was a rock star. He looked great. He looked the part, he dressed the part, he had the attitude. He could play, he was a pretty formidable bass player.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jordan Krumbine.
John Saliba was our Keith Moon.
He was hysterical. He was literally like the bastard son of John Bonham and Keith Moon.
He was going to law school while we were doing all this. I couldn't even get out of bed in the morning. Richie was our first Winchester connection.
He was a guitar player. He wasn't a bass player. He actually was a better guitar player than me and Matt put together. He was a really good guitar player. But he agreed to play bass. And he thought we were cool. Obviously, he thought the songs were good. And we all got on as people. And he ended up playing bass. We went from John Saliba, who was like Animal on the drums, to like my bona fide Ringo.
Ken Mello came to the band. He was a rock. He was in the pocket all the time.
He played for the songs. He listened, which was so important to me.
And he had a full-time job. We were basically a three-piece band with a singer. We needed some more sound.
I wanted to modernize us, man. I wanted us to be a more modern rock band. I was getting tired of just being, two guitars, bass, and drums.
Neither me or Joseph were musically trained. We never had music lessons. Micah brought to the band what we were lacking and so desperately wanted. He was the first person I ever met that had perfect pitch hearing. And he knew exactly what chords, it was a minor, a major, a diminished. He knew music inside out.
Micah never wanted to play synths. Micah didn't want to play little parts. But what I found in Micah was a champion for my songwriting, my singing, my artistry. Sonically, there was a lot more color.
Looking back now, although Micah was the final piece of the dream team, if you will, we never really got to fulfill what we could have been.
What's the name of the record?
Right now it's tentative. She's that kind of girl.
The studio which we're also affiliated with, which is the Loft Studios. That's in Waltham, and it's going to be on Loft Records too. We're starting the record company there.
Well, then you plan a very successful career, it looks like, in the future, right? And I would imagine that your audience here today will probably be the first ones to be buying that record because they all seem to be enjoying it so much.
You can see
yeah, all right. You know what your soundbite is? Wasted opportunity. What fucking album? What single? I mean, that was Matt being Matt. We tried to cut basic tracks a bunch of times, and it just never sounded right, and it never sounded good enough to me, and it's just a disappointment. It's a huge disappointment in my life that we did not put out product back then. It's the only way I can describe it.
From my perspective, the Detours, we were the best band in Lexington. Then we became one of the best bands on the local scene in Boston. If you weren't 17 to 24 in that time frame that we were playing in Boston, you wouldn't even know who we were. But we were very, very small town famous.
We were an exciting young band. John had his following, I had mine, Matt had his. Some people just followed the band and loved the band, and everybody had their own fans. I mean, I remember walking down the street in Boston, hey, Detours! People like recognizing us and stuff, and it was a total ego stroke, man. We loved it, We loved it.
I always thought, until the day I realized that the band had broken up, I'd always thought that we were the best of the best. We had musical integrity, we were fun, the girls loved us, which is a big one, and we were pretty good players. And I had Joe Fusco, my lifelong buddy who was my Mick Jagger. I was in rock and roll heaven from the day me and Joe put that band together.
I'm gonna wait till the midnight hour. That's when my love comes tumbling down. I'm gonna wait till the midnight hour. That's when there's no one else around.
Our management at this time was pulling us in the direction of doing covers. It was a sound business decision on their part that they thought for us, because we needed to get booked in these Holiday Inns and whatnot during the week to get a little income going. Joseph was pulling us towards keeping original, and he was really trying to hold on to the integrity of the band.
I mean, what I was hearing in my head and what I was hearing in rehearsal and live, it was increasingly becoming lesser and lesser. In all fairness, it was probably tough dealing with me at times. I mean, I knew what I wanted. You know, I heard it in my head. And sometimes I'd have to demonstrate what I wanted. I literally would be telling Mel, can you give me this beat, give me that beat? I'd play a bass line for Richie. You know, I wanted Matt to take a more active approach to being in the band and not just like partying and you know, hanging out and being a rock star. You know, I wanted him to put the work in, and he didn't really put the work in. I had a lot of pressure on me.
Everybody was pulling the band in some direction, and I was just pulling us into chaos. I didn't listen. And because I didn't listen, it caused a chasm between me and Joseph. I mean, I was there, but I wasn't. I at one point said, I think we're done. I think the band's done. Joe had, within a month after that happening, I believe, he was going to California, and he wasn't taking me with him.
It was a major disappointment back in the day. You know, I have myself to blame as well. I can't put all the blame on Matt. So, and my frustration with just never having anything recorded. I don't know why I didn't push in that department. It seems very strange to me today. But then to find myself sitting with my old partner in crime 40 years later, working on the track that we never were able to produce is so incredibly gratifying. It's almost like I'm looking at two 14-year-old kids again, and just that initial buzz that we got when we first started, like facing each other and playing acoustic guitars and singing together.
Doing the song again with Joseph and experiencing the camaraderie that me and him have always had, the highs, the lows, even, you know, we've already experienced them in this little time that we've been doing this song, has really been something I cherish.
We're in a good place, relationship-wise, and we're both really, really excited. I think we're both on the same page as far as wanting to do this project. It's just unfinished business. It's been a stone in my shoe for a long time. But for me, I guess there's a bit of closure. It's a bit of a bookend.
And my feeling about Joseph and everybody involved with the Detours, you know, it's about getting to your creative soul. I've always felt best, and I've felt like I'm protected and comforted whenever I've been in that band. Was the height of it for me, and I've kind of been chasing that, you know, ever since then.
I'm excited to see if we're gonna go forward after we do the track and release the track. See if there's any interest, see if anybody even gives a toss. But even if they don't, it's okay, because it's gonna be a sense of accomplishment. It's gonna be something that took 40 years to accomplish. Sad but true. But I guess what does that say about us, right? We don't give up so easily.
Anyway, that'll work. This guy's always got to fucking ham it up.
You fuck the whole ending.
I'll let you do it again.
Makes magic.
Yeah, you had to hit the piano, right?
Okay, one more time. Take this. I don't know what he did back there.
Let's watch that. Let's watch that. Let's watch that shit.
All right, later, guys.
This is New England's all-request weekend.
WRKO, Boston.
And the Detours will also be joining us that night. Anyone 18 or...
WBCN Boston.
And special guests, the Detours.